Greetings, Dark Brethren. This is Gunnereus. I'm here to give you the user interface, add-ons, key binding part of the tutorial that is located on the Death Knight forums on the World of Warcraft website. I just did a fresh install of the main add-ons that I use here, and we're first going to go through LVUI. Log in here and guide you through the setup process. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like whenever you first log on after installing LVUI, especially if you haven't done any UI tweaking beforehand. And you do want to disable any other UI enhancement add-ons you've got if you're switching over to LVUI for the first time, as it has some compatibility problems with others, as you would imagine. So we're not going to skip the process here, go through the brief guided installation process, and just kind of go through the motions, clicking the things that it doesn't give you an option for. Enable Pixel Perfect. We're going to start with class, high resolution, physical DPS, and integrated auras. Finished, it'll reload. It'll reload given some other choices in LVUI2 once you start configuring it to your liking. You can disable this if you want. It's tips on using LVUI. It'll open up every time that you start. So the command for getting into the LVUI controls is LVUI/LVUI. So first we're going to open up our action bars menu because we definitely want to get our action bars sorted out here. So whenever you click on the action bars, it gives you keybind mode, which we'll go into later. I'm going to enable my macro text so you can see what I have that is actually macros here, and keybind so that you can see what I have keybound. Bar 1's enabled automatically, 12 buttons, 12 per row. That's what we want for all of them. So we're going to enable 2 with 12 buttons, 12 per row. 4, take off the backdrop as well. That's actually a aesthetic choice, but for now we're going to just take the backdrop off. And there we go. Also get Timmy's bar set up here. Take the backdrop off. 10 buttons per row. Alright, and our stance bar is up here. We can keep it there. Okay, so that's good for now. Now we'll go into toggle anchors, and you can move this out of the way if you want. And we'll start with bar 4. There we go. Bar 4. Set bar 4 up in the bottom. And bar 3. Bar 2. Bar 1. And I actually use bar 5 as my non-essential clickable stuff. I like to set my health up here, kind of right beside my character. I like to keep everything that I'm looking at right in the center of the screen. You'll find in many of the top player setups, that's what they choose to do. So also I put my target frame up here. If you're a Dragon Slayer, you might want your target slightly different because a lot of the Deadly Boss mods notifications happen right here, but since that doesn't happen in PvP, I like to keep my target right there. And then my target of target, I like to keep right up here beside it. And my focus, where's my focus? This loss of control, it'll pop up a big thing if you're stunned or whatever. So it's helpful to have right here by your character. My cast bar, I like to be right under me. My pet bar, right on top of my action bar. I don't know where my focus went. We'll find it then. Put the loot frame down here. I'll move the raid frames up here to more the top left. I find that no matter what class and spec that I'm playing, I prefer them to be up there. Same with party frames. Tooltip up here. Move the arena and boss frames over here to the right more. There we go. There's the focus frame. I like to keep it right here above my character. Right between me and the target. You can see the cast bar right there. I actually like the cast bar to be right there. Right in the middle. That way I can see it no problem. Okay. That looks good for now. Lock it up. Actually, we're going to, this is my LVY macro right here. It's just slash LVY and a macro. Bar, what was it? Bar 5. I actually like to set that to 6. Or yeah. 6 buttons per row. And then move it down here like that. Alright, that's just my clickable stuff. And my mountain hearths and whatnot. Okay, I'll go through my action bars here real quick and my key bindings with you to show you how I have it set up in case you need some guidance or some suggestion. So I have Death's Advance, keybound to A, and oh yeah, before I get too far into this here, if you want to keybind it right here in LVUI without having to go through your keybinds list and figuring out which action bar is where, they have a keybind mode, which is really handy. You can just hover over it. It says it right here in the keybinds section. Hover over it and push A, and then Shift A, S, Shift S, whatnot. So Death's Advance is A, Death Coil, Shift A, Scourge Strike is S, Icy Touch is Shift S, Festering Strike is D, Plague Strike is Shift D, Death and Decay is F, Blood Boil is Shift F, Chains of Ice G, Death Grip Shift G, Unused Trinket is Q, Unholy Frenzy is Shift Q, Dark Simulacrum is W, Summon Gargoyle is Shift W, Strangulate is E. I have you see that as a macro. I have a Strangulate macro there. It's a mouse over macro. Mind Freeze is Shift E. Necrotic Strike is R. Desecrated Ground is Shift R. Power Rune Weapon is Z. Death Coil Ghoul Heal macro is Shift Z. Conversion is X. Icebound Fortitude is Shift X. Will of the Forsaken is C. Obviously, only us cool undead people get that. The PvP trinket, whenever I'm choosing to use it, is Shift C. Soul Reaper I have set to V. Ghoul Gnaw is Shift V. Transformation is H. Raise Dead is Shift H. Outbreak 1. Plague Leech would be Shift 1. Hellstone 2. Death Strike Shift 2. It's especially helpful for doing dailies with Dark Secure. Anti-Magic Shell 3. Anti-Magic Zone Shift 3. 6 for Horn of Winter. I have an empty keybound slot for Shift 6. 7 for Potion of Mogu Power. Shift 7 for Massive Symphorium Charge. Which can also be used for quest items or whatnot. And since I'm, Ultra Pro, I go Disenchant for 8. Fishing is Shift 8. Raise Ally is 9. And my army is Shift 9. I have a tendency to click for Path of Frost, cannibalize, my reload macro, which is just, reloads the game. That's helpful if you have some sort of add-on problem in the midst of battle. Don't have to actually type. Camera. This is a camera macro, which I'll link into my guide, which is on the Death Knight forums on the World of Warcraft website. But what this does is it enables you to zoom out farther. See, right there is the maximum zoom out. If I click this macro, I can then go back a little bit farther. So you can see that's pretty far zoomed out. That gives you a damn good picture of what's going on the battlefield if you're zoomed out this far. It can cause a little bit of an issue though if you walk into buildings and whatnot. So in like Warsong Gulch, where I'm going in and out of tunnels and whatnot, I'll keep it more around this area right here. But in rated battlegrounds, like Eye of the Storm and whatnot, I'll keep it zoomed out pretty far, especially if I'm target calling. And then my foe and heals macros are for basically trying to guide people a little bit in random battlegrounds. Obviously I would use a calm system for doing this in raideds and arenas and whatnot, but for randoms, this seems to help. People actually seem to pay attention to what you say a little bit, especially if you're just wrecking people's shit and really carrying the battleground. People will have a tendency to pay attention to your rib face is a dangerous foe macro. Or at least I like to think they do. Then I have J and Shift J to my mounts and Control Undead, which I never use because it takes over poor Timmy here, and Mass Resurrection. This is macro. It just brings up my macro list. It's just /macro command macro. It's a macro in your macro because I heard that you like macros. Conjure mana buns. I like shrooms. My Death Gate. My guild banner. And this is for whenever I'm targeting and camping people here. My target macro. I do not like this right chat window. We're going to get rid of it just like that. And to bring it back, you just click the arrow. You hover over where it would be. And it's gone. Hover over where the arrow would be, and you can bring it back. Get rid of it. And all these little things here you can change. We're about to. So we'll go into LVUI with our handy LVUI macro. And here in the general section, there's all kinds of stuff in LVUI you guys can go through and tweak to your general liking. I'm going to show you how I set up my UI, and obviously you can take it from there, do whatever you choose to do. We're going to go into media, and in font here in combat text font, I actually like this LVUI alt combat font. It's pretty cool. And see, here's the reload screen. We'll click it this time, but you don't always have to click it every time that it brings that up. You can go through and make a series of changes and then click reload whenever you're done, and it'll go through with all your changes at once. So here, yeah, in the wrong spot. Data texts is how you change these things here at the bottom of your minimap and whatnot. So for minimap left, I like time. This is default. I'm used to looking at the time up there. Minimap right, I like to put that as system. Feels kind of pimp having it up there like that. You can see. Right chat, that's this chat thing over here that we ignored, so it doesn't really matter. Left chat, I like to keep that to guild and friends, because it's down there with my social panel. And 57 people on my awesome ass guild, Warsong Battalion. Alright. And then fonts, I like Morpheus. Alright. So that's good. I'll probably go through and make some changes here. Like here in the chat. Is that... I don't know, that's I'll keep that out of UI. Forget how to change that. The chat panel texture. Might be a media. Default font. Name font. Ah, that's the default font there. That's where the default font lay. Which I'm actually going to go through and change back to LVUI standard font. I'm not sure how to do that right at this moment. Here, I prefer my fonts to be gray and my background to be kind of a dark green. So a little bit darker green than that. There we go. And if you change these textures, it'll change the textures of your cast bar and nameplates and whatnot. I highly encourage you to go through and just experiment with LVUI. It's a very powerful user interface tweaking program that you can set up in a myriad of different ways. So here, I like my chat to be big and wide. I'm a pretty social guy, so I like to know what people are saying. There we go. Ah, here's my font for that. See, paid off. There we go. Ah, no, I'm wrong. Yeah, there it was. Tab font. Alright. I also like to set up a couple different chat windows here. So I go into create new window, and this will be my guild window for Warsaw Battalion. I'll name Battalion and set it up so that it only shows things that happen in guild chat. So there we go. Ignore all this other stuff. And I actually do not like the show class color pretty much anywhere. I'm actually going to go in here to general and take that off too if it's on. Alright. And one more window for, yeah, I keep doing that. Create new window. And this is for whispers. So I hate missing private messages. Got some real ID friends, and I don't know about you, but I get really into a battleground whenever I'm doing one. So I want to catch anything that gets said, but I might not catch it right away. So there, battle whispers, BattleNet whispers, whispers, real ID convo. Make sure I got them all. I'll put, you know, creature whispers in here too, just because they're so rare, and whenever it happens, it entertains me. And we all remember the Lich King whispering us during the quest, right? I want that to come across my whisper channel. Alright. Okay, so these nasty, ugly things here are supposed to be your DK runes, which I do not like that. That is, it loses style points big time in my eyes. Plus, it's kind of hard to get the hang of. So I'm just going to go in here and take those off. Down here in unit frames, which is tons of stuff to configure in LWI. Go into player frames and class bar and just disable that. And we're also going to go into power bar. That's your runic power. And you want it enabled, but we are also going to detach from frame. And toggle anchors and move it up here. Over here to the right. Lock it. And we're going to make it bigger. Like that. It's a little bit screwed up looking here, so we'll reload the UI. See if it helps. Yep. Alright, that's better, but you might be asking, you know, well, how are we going to do anything? We can't see our runes. Well, that's what Umber runes is for. So we're going to get out here and load Umber runes next, so that we're not freaking out about the lack of runes. Alright, so here's our Umber runes. And I think /Umber is the... Yeah, there we go. Okay, all we wanted to do is show the actual runes themselves. So I'm going to disable diseases and target, and all that other stuff that Umber runes is capable of doing. Because we don't need it. LWI does all that. And we're going to make it bigger. So set scale. Start with 2. Yeah, it looks good. And how do we move it? Lock. /Umber lock. So right now it's unlocked. Let's stick it right up here. Right on top of our runic power. There we go. Nice and easy. Right up here near our target. Big, you know, oversized, but not hogging up all of our screen. This is how I like it right here. So we'll lock it into place. Alright.
I can't do that.
Ah, I just seen a slight UI enhancement here. We can go into the unit frames, player frame, health, coloring, the backdrop. We want the backdrop to be black. That way whenever we lose HP, it's just black behind it instead of being that reddish color. It's just a slight variant of the main color. We don't want that. Also, we'll go up here and make our target show a percentage of its health as well. That way we know when to start triggering Soul Reaper. So where do I do that? I know there's a way. Ah, okay, I found it. It's right here in health. It's in the text format down here is how you change what the health actually displays. You see the tooltip over there to the right, the LWI frame. So it will show a percentage. I do prefer it to be on the left of the health bar though, so we'll go there. There we go. And I was realizing as I took a brief break there and found that and got a drink and whatnot, that You might be freaking out about my keybind setup. For one thing, how do you move? If you're not used to being completely keybound and keyboard moving, that's, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, incorrect. You do not want to do that. In fact, it'd be nice if Blizzard just taught people to mouse move from the get-go and let you keybind, or rather forced you to keybind from the beginning instead of even letting you move around with the keyboard. So you want to go into you want to set this up just like I have here or similar. And in your key bindings, you might have also been wondering where my 4 and 5 went to. I actually use a Naga mouse. So that's why I have such an easy way of using these shift plus number modifiers. I really love the Razer Naga mouse and suggest it for anybody that has a little bit of expendable income. Definitely pick up the Naga mouse. You'll love it. And here you can see I have my strafe left is 4 and shift 4. That way if I'm using a shift modifier and a move at the same time that I'm moving, it doesn't cut out. My movement doesn't stop. Same for strafe right. It's 5 and shift 5. And I do typically have my turn left and turn right set to my mouse button 4 and 5, which if you're familiar with the Razer Naga or you get one and review this video, it's the 2 small mouse buttons right to the left of the right mouse button. And I use that for classes other than the DK. Like there's certain things that it really helps to be able to actually keyboard turn for. You wouldn't want to have it bound to a primary position or use it to actually move, but there's situational times that it is actually beneficial to be able to do this. Right now I'm thinking of the Dark Moon Fair shooter game. This really makes that quite simple. But yeah, if you don't have a Razer Naga, I still suggest this. If you don't have a Razer Naga, you still want to use this, and you just aren't going to be able to strafe. I went through with like that myself before I got a Naga. You can still move around very well without being able to strafe. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and you will love it whenever you get a Naga and be able to strafe again. But it is better to set your keybinds up this way and to lose strafe than to try to build strafe into your keybind and use your moves at the same time. I'm sure there's advanced players that can do that no problem and might be raging in their minds at this part of the guide, but really for a beginner player, keybind, lose your strafe, and save up for a Razer Naga mouse. Alright, so back to the rest of the tutorial here. I think we're in a pretty good spot for LVUI. There might be some enhancements that I come up with later on, as I'm sure there's some that you will come up with on your own. Like here, I don't like the tooltip being there. I prefer the tooltip to be on top of the mouse. So go in here to tooltip, enable, and we'll do cursor anchor. And I also like to see what spec guys are in, the enemy players or even friendly players that I'm looking at doing a kind of cursory inspection of. So I click talent spec there. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do with this program. Once again, this add-on is terrific. So here we're going to log back out and continue our add-on tweaking process. We'll start with recount next. It is quick and easy. Alright, there's recount. Whenever you first load it up, I like to drag it right down here to where my useless right chat window would be and do some quick tweaking of it, make it look a little bit better. We'll match it to our LVUI setup here. Green and gray. Yep. Do the same thing for there. Same thing for the stuff it brings up there. Obviously, you can pick whatever colors you want. I'll allow you to do that. Alright, so recount set up. You can also, a little known fact about recount here, bring up your heals per second for the raid, so you can see what your healers are doing, and a separate window that can just run on top of your recount here if you want, or your damage taken. And you can see if somebody's blowing all their cooldowns on you, just like that. Those are options, however, I do not use them. Got my ghetto-ass quest objectives there, which I'm not sure what this unused thing is. Somebody linked me, shared this with me, and I have no idea what it is. I keep it there as a novelty. Alright, next. Battleground targets. You will just, it's really incredibly easy to use. You can't miss it. Whenever you enter a battleground, there will be your battleground targets thing off to the right. You can open it through battleground target / battleground targets and set the anchors just like you would for anything in LVUI. You can also disable it for the big battlegrounds if you want, which I do for Isle of Conquest and AV. PvP timer we'll get to. Right now we'll work on weak auras. Alright, now we got our weak auras enabled. We're going to bring it up is just weak auras / WA. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this to track our buffs that are especially useful for reapplying our extra strength diseases. So our 3 primary buffs that we're concerned with here for tracking in weak auras are our Unholy Strength that procs from our weapon of Fallen Crusader, our Rune of the Fallen Crusader. Then our on hit trinket, our Tyrannical Trinket, the Insignia, I believe it's called. There is it here, yeah, the Insignia of Victory. So I'm just gonna go ahead and there's a LVUI enhancement right there. 2, as a matter of fact. One thing, we're gonna move this over here beside our recount window. And the second thing is we want our general data icons there. Let's see, microbar? Yeah, microbar. So we're going to lift the chat up just a little bit and bring the microbar down here, right underneath it. There we go. You can also have your bags. I know that bag is Shift B. I don't really care about seeing them. You can set your bags up wherever you want here. Yeah, so my insignia right here. We'll set up our badge first, since it's right here and we don't have to go to a target dummy for it. Figure out what it's called. So, our badge buff is called Call of Victory. That's what we're interested in right there. So we go into weak auras, new icon. So we'll just delete these and show it from the beginning here. New icon. Call it whatever you want. Call it badge. And can trigger aura. The aura name is Call of Victory. Yep, 7 matches, but don't worry about that. That's just from all the different badges that there are. Obviously, it's going to be your badge that it tracks. And I do this just because it makes me feel better about things. And I like to load this in combat only, and for the specific class that I'm setting the macro up for, or the weak auras frame. That way I can set it in different spots of my screen for every different character. Alright, and just do the same thing again for the next one. And this one's going to be Unholy Strength. That's the name of the proc that happens whenever our Weapon of the Fallen Crusader goes off, our Rune of the Fallen Crusader. So there it is, Unholy Strength. If you want to see where your other one is, you can click the little eye here beside it. And right there. Set it right up here under our runes. Just name that what it is, Unholy Strength. Load. In combat. For DK. Yep. And you can also hear the text is that little number in the bottom right. Just put it in the center. Make it big. That way you can, the lock symbol is kind of in the way right there, but it'll show you the countdown whenever it's going on. Which is handy, you know, whenever you're tracking a buff, but you can also, if you know that it's going off, just give a quick glance up here too. And we need to figure out the name of the buff for our insignia, the one-hit trinket. So I'm going to head down here to the target dummy. Alright.
I'm out of range.
There's our Unholy Strength. There it is. Surge of Victory.
I can't do that yet.
You can see here that I also have my move, follow, and attack keybound to equal, dash, and 0 for my pet. Having follow is especially, well, really any of them, but especially follow and attack. That way you can keep him on your target, but also you see that I have macro and festering strength, a macro for Scourge Strike and festering strength here. My macros for Scourge Strike and festering strike are just to keep my pet on my current target. So there you can see my macros. It's just a cast pet attack right in there with them. And my strangulate mouse over macro is right here if you're interested in that. But mouse over macros are easy to set up. I'll put one in the written portion of the guide, and you can also find them on Google. So now I done forgot what my thing was called, my proc was called, so I have to go back down here. Probably going to take it a minute to go off. There we go. Surge of Victory.
I can't do that yet.
I wish they would let you duel up here. This would be the best place for a Death Knight dueling tournament right here. Okay, so we'll go back into weak auras with /WA, new, icon, insignia, trigger on Surge of Victory, and it'll pick up the right Surge of Victory, don't worry about it. Load in combat for DKs. And it won't pick up an automatic icon, so you can see how it's being the Mind Flay icon for some reason. So I'm actually going to select my own icon here. Alright, so what icon do we want here? We'll just put in Unholy. Any of these look good? Let's see what else we can get. Looking for despair here. See if we can pick up like an awesome warlock icon. Oh, this one looks okay. You can obviously put more work into it and find something that you really enjoy, and you can also like change that to another icon, make it something really Death Knight looking. So there we go. And I'll go down here and make sure that they all work real quick. And I cannot emphasize enough that these things... Oh, I thought I was going to be able to go down through there. Reapplying your diseases whenever you have all three of these up, and especially in a random battleground whenever you pop a potion of Mogu power, it really does make a difference. But in case you're wondering, Unholy Frenzy does not. Unholy Frenzy does not affect your diseases at all. Neither does Gary the Gargoyle here. Those two increase your damage, but not your disease damage. Disease damage is not affected by haste. So, see how this goes. So we'll pull Gary off here, or yeah, Timmy off here. Click ticking for like non-crit tick. It's 13k, 9k for Frost Fever. So we'll reapply them with just these two up. Back here, Timmy. Alright, and it's going for 18k and 12k now. So you can see just that, those two, without even the third one up. The third one up, it probably would have been like 2014. So, makes a big difference. Big difference. Alright, get out of here. Back up to our hidey hole. And we'll set up the last part. PvP timer. Little known, much loved by those who do know of it. Alright. Let's click the run test and it will show you a whole bunch of stuff. I am not an expert at PvP timer, but the more I use it, the more I love it. So set my target to here above my target, and that'll show my target's cooldowns, my focus here to the left of my focus. And just like it shows right up here, even though none of those are particularly useful for us, and you can go into the spell configurations here. And if you really wanted to set this up for yourself, what you would go through and do is say, start one class at a time. Say you want to start with Mage, and click through and only click the enable the ones that you're actually interested in. So for Mage, that would be something like, we really want to know when Mage has Frost Nova up, or Frost Draw, or whenever they're about to get their Icy Veins. Like, that stuff is really good to know. The rest of this stuff, think about how much you really need to know about it. Like Counterspell, it might be good for a situational awareness thing, but is it really something that you need to have ticking away up here on your bars as a DK? Not really. That's something that like a healer or even just any other sort of caster should be concerned about, but not a DK as much. And like Blink, that's good to know, to be prepared to death grip them back. even though that should be almost, muscle memory for anybody who spend any amount of time on DK at all. Time warp, that's like always going to be up. It's barely worth tracking. But, just go through and figure out what you want to track from each person so that your screen just isn't overrode with countdowns of all different classes. Yep. Very good to know. And you can pull off some pro moves. Like Priest, Psychic Scream. So imagine this Psychic Scream that's almost down to 0.5 seconds. Then Anti-Magic Shell, if you were up on them, training them, there's like a 95% chance that they were waiting for that Psychic Scream to come off cooldown, and they're freaking out about to cast it. And if you can hit your Anti-Magic Shell just at the time that they hit their Psychic Scream, they are going to be raging about that, and you are going to kill them. That's how it works. PvP timer is also a very potent add-on for you guys who are casters, because you can track interrupts. It works just like the old school interrupt bar, only it's way better, actually. Just enabled an anchor there. Obviously, I don't really care about that as much as a DK. You can set up your crowd control, roots and snares anchors, so that you can track certain things in their own groups. Obviously, feel free to configure PvP timer to your liking. Like I said, it's relatively new add-on for me. I love it. I can't believe I've lived without it. But really, that should be it. I think that this is if you do everything that I've said in the written guide here, have your UI set up like this, use the macros that I showed you, get used to keybinding, are aware of your enemy's cooldowns, and pay attention to your resources and really understand how to use them. You will go from being a scrub DK to at least being a good DK. And these are the tools that you need to step from being a good DK into a great DK, really. The only thing I haven't covered in this tutorial is advanced pet management. So for that, you'll have to find other sources, but they're not hard to find. Reinhardt here on YouTube is a great assistance. He makes great upper level, high end DK videos. He's like a nuclear Russian scientist who decided to use his gigantic brain on DKs. So he's an excellent resource for the community that is underutilized, in my opinion. But that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it.